The following video is a collaboration video with my good friend, HeroToVillain. He makes amazing content, so don't forget to check him out and show him some love. Now, let's begin. Number 1. So me and my friends Mike and Steve were chilling at Steve's house late at night in 2009. I remember especially because we went to go see the new Friday the 13th film earlier that day. We were all just hanging out, listening to music and rocking out like the dorks that we are. My friend's parents were gone for the night, leaving the house all to ourselves. As the song slowly came to an end, we could hear someone singing from outside. We looked outside of the window and see a man under a nearby streetlight that is in front of the house. He is singing and clapping his hands while staring back at us. His long dark hair was hanging over his eyes. It was the most insane thing I have ever seen. The others thought it was just some drunk crazy guy messing around with us, and there was nothing to worry about. They returned to their rocking. After the next song ended, they heard even louder singing coming from outside again. We opened the blinds to the bedroom window and saw the man's face pressed directly against the window, singing with a smile on his face. His face was absolutely dreadful, covered with old scars and a row of crooked, blackened, rotting teeth. He was smiling from ear to ear. We quickly closed the blinds. Then one of my friends picked up the phone and dialed 911. The cops came, and the man was gone by the time they got there. The cops said if he came back, to call again. So me and my friends didn't think the creepy man would return after that. But then, the phone suddenly rang. When Steve picked it up, he froze in total fear, his mouth hanging wide open. He said he could hear singing coming from the other end. He then slammed the phone down and called the cops again. This time, they found the man lurking around in the backyard. Apparently, the man was insane and escaped out of a local asylum. If you're wondering how he got Steve's home phone number, the house was for sale at the time, and Steve's dad got the brilliant idea to display the house number on the for sale sign. Genius, right? The phone call came from a stolen cell phone. None of us were in immediate danger, but this was still nope as fuck. So, creepy, insane stalker who was singing outside my friend's window that night. Let's never meet again. Number 2.
Okay, English is not my first language, so bear with me, and I'm not really good at telling stories. This happened when I was 8 years old. I really liked walking around our village with my friends. A little foreshadowing here. In that same year, there are cases of missing children found in the trash bins or empty lots. They are found dead. The most disturbing thing is their organs have been removed and there's money taped on their mouths. They said it was done by the trade union group or whatever. It was a large syndicate group, and it was hard to deal with, so the police couldn't do anything to stop the killings and kidnapping. My dad was convinced that they were a part of it. They usually target poor children that are usually seen loitering around without provision. There is also this one case where they targeted a teen mother with her toddler. They forced her to give her child. She didn't, so they took her along. They were found the next day, both dead without internal organs, both of their mouths taped with a 100 peso bill. I'm pretty sure they tape money on their mouths to serve as payment for their family. I'm also sure they sell the organs they steal from those innocent people. So what happened to me was relevant to that. I liked loitering around with my friends when there are no classes. We usually gather at our secret base and walk around the area. When we got tired, we decided to sit at a park nearby. We were just chilling and laughing when a white van passed. We thought of it as nothing at first, but we got alarmed when it showed up again and again. Its windows was tinted, and its color scared us more. It was said on the news that the abductors usually use white vans. We got more alarmed when the van stopped near the park. Two guys got out of the vehicle. One was a large guy with muscles and stuff. The other one is very thin and looked like he was on drugs. We stood up and played it cool, though one of my friends is already shivering, and we're all scared as fuck. We walked calmly and tried to say some jokes to put ourselves at ease. I glanced at the two guys and they were eyeing us while saying something to each other. The funny thing was, I was thinking my dad would kill me if I get abducted here. When we passed them, they started walking behind us. My friends are already crying. I was in verge of tears too, but I played it cool so they won't feel that scared. I swear to God, they were about to get their hands on me when the van's door opened, and I still can't forget what I saw inside. It was a little girl. She was tied up, and her mouth was taped. The two guys were startled. They ran towards the van. Of course, we ran. I was sprinting then because I was scared shitless. When we got home, I told my dad, and I got a good ass whooping right there. So, ugly abducting guys, let's not meet ever, or I will kill you. I swear.
Number 3. Let me start by saying that this morning I wasn't in the best of moods. I had to work the graveyard shift last night, and I woke up after only 4 hours of sleep, with my back killing me. I couldn't get back to sleep, so I decided to go run a few errands, since I was now wide awake. I needed to get a haircut while I was out as well. My sister works at a salon that was right next to a Target. So, after I got my sister to mow my scalp, for free by the way, I popped over to Target intending to grab a few things before heading home. So I'm pushing my cart down the frozen food section, and I turned the corner to go into the next aisle. When I did, there was a middle-aged lady who was pushing her cart heading in the opposite direction. I nearly bumped into her, but stopped before the carts collided. She gave me a mean look and said in a bitchy tone, "Excuse me!" Now, again, I have to say, I wasn't in the best of moods, and I'm a short-tempered person as it is. So, without thinking, I shot back at her and said, "Shut up, you're fine. Call me an asshole if you want. No one's perfect." But what happened next was just pure insanity. The lady then suddenly left her shopping cart and started following me. I noticed this halfway down the aisle, and I turned around to ask what her problem was. And then, I shit you not, she rolled her eyes into the back of her head, pointed at me, and screamed very loudly. When I say screamed, I mean she was shrieking at the top of her lungs. It was like something out of The Exorcist. I hurried down the aisle to get away from this insane person, but she was running after me, still pointing at me. Needless to say, all the bystanders immediately stopped what they were doing and stared at us. The lady kept screaming like a banshee at the top of her lungs while she chased me around the store. Well, I noped it the fuck out of there. I didn't feel like explaining the situation to the employees, and I couldn't stand the ear-piercing screaming a second longer. I ran out of the exit of the store. I looked back into the store as I headed for my car. The lady was standing just outside the now open automated sliding door, but she was still inside the store, if that makes sense. While she stood there, her mouth was hanging wide open, and she was still pointing at me. And her eyes were still rolled into the back of her head. All you could see was the whites of her eyes. She suddenly turned around and briskly walked back into the store. I decided to pick up my stuff at Walmart, just down the street instead. All I could think about the entire drive home was, what the fuck was that? Creepy screaming possessed banshee lady? Perhaps I shouldn't have been so rude, but you still have more than one screw loose in your noggin. Let's not meet again. Number 4.
First time posting a story, so I apologize for any errors. This was the most terrifying experience I've ever had. I've only ever told this to a few people because it does give me the chills every time I repeat it, but it's definitely worth telling. So, a little info. I live in the New England area, East Coast, and this took place last November and ended around February of this year. So one day my dad had to take me to school because my mom left early for work. And about 5 minutes into the drive to school, I noticed that I forgot my ID card, which I need to walk around the school with. So my dad turned the car around and we drove back home. Now, my house is gated, and you need a code to get in. After we got through the gate, my dad and I noticed that there was someone peeking through the windows. There was no car parked in the driveway though. I was a bit freaked out because I had not an idea how this guy got in. The only way to get onto our property is by putting the code in at the gate. And no, he couldn't have jumped the gate. The sensor would have gone off. My dad tells me to wait inside the car and to lock the doors. He gets out and walks up to the guy that I can now see is about 40 or so. Now, this part gets a bit weird, but not. It's not uncommon at the same time. My dad looks exactly like Leonardo DiCaprio, and he gets told that almost every day. The next thing I know, this guy asks for my dad's autograph, and asks if he can take a picture with him. Very odd. I know. My dad nervously laughs and backs away a little. We can tell that this guy had some problems, so my dad offers to call someone for him, or even a cab. This guy says
No, I'm good.
And starts walking down our driveway. Okay, ready for this? When he gets to the gate, he puts the frickin' code in. Like, how did he know it? My dad then starts shouting at him and starts running down the driveway. Then this beat up white car stops, picks up the guy, and they take off. My dad goes inside our house, checks the place out, and calls me to let me know I can come in. Fast forward to mid-November. I should mention that I was 16 when this started. I turned 17 in late November. I'm also an only child, if that's even important. So, one night, my parents and I are having dinner and talking when the phone rings. We don't take calls during dinner, so we let the answering machine take it. Then we hear this really creepy voice.
Hey, buddy. Smoking wife you got. And that daughter? She's a peach.
My dad got up, picked up the phone, but the person on the other line had hung up. I'm not really one to get freaked out easily, but I was very scared. And I didn't sleep a wink that night. I should mention that by this time, we had completely forgotten about that guy on our property. Over the next 2 weeks, we got really creepy phone calls. Some in the middle of the night. Sometimes I would sleep on the couch in my parents' room. But let me just quickly tell you how awesome my dad is. He would stay up downstairs while my mom and I slept. And sometimes, when I couldn't sleep, he and I would watch funny movies and play board games. He is incredibly protective of my mother and I, and he did everything he could to keep us safe and feel safe. For my birthday, my family and I went to New York for a few days. When we got back, everything seemed fine until we started unpacking and noticed that some things were missing, like a few family photos, 2 of my dad's Rolex watches, and some of my mom's jewelry. Not knowing what else to do, we called the police. My dad is a surgeon, and he is sometimes on call, so he often would have to leave late at night, at which point my mom and I would sleep in the same room. My teachers noticed a huge change in me. I was always asleep in class. I lost a lot of weight, and I just looked like a complete wreck in general. My teachers expressed their concerns with my parents, to which my mom and dad decided to send me to therapy. The phone calls started coming almost every day now. One day at school, the office called me down to the front desk. I was informed that a relative was there to pick me up. My mind started going to a million different places. I was scared that something happened to my parents. I asked who it was, and they said it was my uncle. Now this is where I got a little confused. I only have one uncle, and he lives in London. I explained that there must have been a mistake, and the lady at the front desk pointed to a man sitting in the lobby. I had never seen him in my entire life. I told the lady that I wanted to speak to the principal. My parents were called to the school, and I left early that day. And my mom and dad were very uncomfortable sending me to school the next day, so I ended up staying home for a few days. Long story short, this stalker issue became so big that we actually ended up moving to New York City. But before that, it was getting out of control. People showed up to the door, even after we changed our code to get in. We just felt unsafe, and I never want to feel that frightened ever again. And I hope none of you ever have to experience that feeling. But thankfully, nothing has happened since we moved. I'm just so thankful I had my family with me. So, to the stalkers who hunted my family for months, you better hope we don't meet again.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. And again, a special thanks to my friend HeroToVillain for doing this collaboration with me. It was fun working with him, so show him some love. The link to his channel and the link to part 2 of this collaboration we did on his channel will be in the description below, along with my social media links and the links to the stories. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos. So, remember, and don't forget, there is no such thing as a beautiful nightmare.